All right. Shalom, shalom. Call lawyer Howell Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kakadash. Okay, and of course, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Barak call Akim, and peace and salutations to you sincere brothers out there who pushing the truth across the four corners of the earth. Shalom to you as well. Back at it, just got a quick hit. Because it's tax season, and the Lord has it, man. Tax season, that used to be turn-up season. That used to be splurge season. Used to be, niggas call it money phone season, where they get the money back and they can make a money phone with it. But, even that's becoming dead, and that's coming to a close because these Edomites are putting pressure on every single avenue in the system that they set up. This is that whore who's been untouched for the most part. We've never had anybody come here and attack. But I'm gonna just jump into the article, man, because the Lord is making it so, using Esau so that your only way out is going to be through him. It's going to have to be through the spiritual powers that he's going to come with. It's going to have to be through the chariots. That's what the Lord is going to send to rescue brothers out of here, out of America, Lord willing. And the Lord is bringing to close all this other shit for us to get distracted in. Like I said, it's tax season right now. This is U.S. Today. It says some Americans face a costly surprise this tax season: tiny refunds or bigger bills. For some Americans, this tax season has so far has come with an unwelcome surprise, either a smaller than expected refund, or even worse, a jarring bill. Most got their tax savings and paychecks, but the loss of a sizable refund is hitting their finances. Some are getting refunds that are half the normal size, while others are thousands of dollars in the hole for the first time. To manage, they are readjusting their spending plans to align with a tinier refund. People who owe are pulling from savings, taking out a loan, or signing up to pay off the IRS in installments. They plan to consult with tax pros so that they can avoid another money disaster next year. We're finding out that those with the biggest refund change are those that didn't do tax planning last year, said Lynn Ebel, director of the Tax Institute at H&R Block. So far, according to IRS statistics, the average refund is down 8.7%, following the biggest tax law changes in decades. There you go. They don't offer figures about what people owe. And being on the street level, I'm seeing that too. People ain't getting, the $2,000, $3,000 no more. They might just get 1,000. They might just get 500. The shit is going downhill. And another thing they're saying too is that, a lot of these people who might get 10,000, they might own a business. They might get 10 grand or 12 grand. Now they only getting, 1 grand, 2 grand. So, everything is not, it's not coming back in full circle like it used to be. Salaki. It said, I'm going to jump down through it. Yeah, because, just like they just shut the government down. They want money for this war. They want money to go to war. Money, and they want money to use to go after Issachar and the different people who are trying to cross the border to get into this country. They want that too. They want all that shit. And like I said, man, the people are feeling it. People are feeling the hand of this damn devil, just like going back to the time of the Romans. Because one thing about it, these Edomites, they can make that connection between America and Rome. Somehow they've journeyed from Rome. In their mind, they journeyed from Rome to Europe. and they, when really, it was a few different places in between there, but they journeyed from Rome to Europe, Eastern Europe to Western Europe. Then later on, of course, we know they journeyed over here and Salakia. But before they came to Rome, they were known as Idumeans. Before they got into conflict with Japheth and all the different, well, they got in conflict with us too, the Shemites and the Hamites and all the Japhites, because Esau goes back to Shem. White people are Semitic, so-called white people are Semitic too. But they got into it with all of those people as well. So, and before they were, like I said, before they were Rome, they were considered Idumeans. They were Edomites. Let me see, I'm going to read a little bit more. Last year, they got almost $800 back. This year, they owe more than $5,000. Crazy. A major burden for the Chicago couple. We're strapped, they're saying. There's 3 to 4 months of my daughter's rent or half of her tuition. So they got a daughter in college. Instead, they're considering a payment plan with the IRS because they can't afford to write such a big check. Those extra monthly payments will dent other plans they have for this year too. So, this is crazy. It said, who's getting taxed? Let's see. It says homeowners in high tax states, employees with a lot of unreimbursed expenses, people who itemize with no dependents, all could experience an unpleasant tax season. We know, of course, in taxes, whatever the number of dependents you have, that kind of is a huge influence on how much you get back, because if you have more people to pay for, you have more you got to do. Let's see. And that's the main point on that. I'm not going to go too far into it. That's the main point. These Edomites, what they did, and this is what they did with the taxes. There's an algorithm. We say algorithm is a system of equations that there's a formula for how they create what tax bracket you're in based off of, if you're single, if you're married, if you have kids, all this little information, how much money you made, all this little shit, and basically they can change it by changing different numbers around, different points around. They could change around how much money you get back. And what Trump did basically was he gave a lot of richer people, they get more back this year than they usually would. And so, he could change it where they do that, and that the poor people get back less, get back less, salak. So, this place is constantly being pushed and pushed out of equilibrium, because you've always had, upper class, middle class, lower class. Well, now it's coming to a point where this country, you either upper class or you lower class. Like the elder put up a video, the apostle put up a video. He said, stay out of Elf City. Yeah, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it Elf City. They're trying to kick out Jake. They're doing the same thing here in St. Louis and other places. They're trying to rebuild downtown, rebuild everything back up so that people want to come down there, and all the Jakes that got stuck during that redlining shit or they couldn't get to a new neighborhood, because of housing discrimination. Now it's changing around. Everything's a little different. But I'm going to just read a little bit of history real quick. It says, in the early days of the Roman Republic, public taxes consisted of modest assessments on owned wealth and property. The tax rate under normal circumstances was 1% and sometimes would climb as high as 3% in situations such as war. These modest taxes were levied against land, homes, and other real estate, slaves, animals, personal items, and monetary wealth. Taxes were collected from individuals, and at times payments could be refunded by the Treasury for excess collections. Yep. So they had just like every empire, they had a treasury and they could draw from that treasury. But here in America, uh, because what our people are still doing too, another thing on that, they'll try to sell you on some, like the Moors. They'll try to say, well, look, we got to practice. We got to practice community-oriented business. We got to practice. What's it called? Oh, we gotta practice the black dollar. We gotta go into the power of the black dollar. We gotta talk about equal employment and basically all of us putting our money together. And they'll take you back to the different dynasties in Africa, maybe the Somali dynasty. Like I said, the Barbary Coast and the Moors and all these different people who were Israelites. Mansa Musa. They bring up that name too. Well, the one thing about all of those empires, which Esau has probably already studied, is they all were based on gold. They all had access to gold, to silver, to rare treasures of the earth. And at that point, Esau, because we know that's how one of the ways the Rothschild family became very rich, and the other different families of the elites, drawing oil out the earth, and then they sell oil, and then they make everything that you have to use on a day-to-day basis oil based or based on natural gas. You need that natural gas in your house for heating, cooling. Then of course electricity. They have to be able to generate and create the electricity to power your house. So basically Esau took notes from those different empires and figured that out. And when you look at it now, they control all the energy, all the natural gases, all the electric, all the natural resources. So the playing field has shifted. They even supposedly, we don't know how much gold they have, but according to certain stats, it said that we have about 60% of the world's gold. I think I saw about 60 or 70%. I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong, but that's something that I saw, about 60% of the world's gold supply. So they even have the so-called monopoly on that, which it's always going to be gold that's going to be found, but that's just something that's very interesting. And that's how those are empires before. That's how Jake, that's one of the, of course it was through the Most High, but that's how Jake was able to still rise up and to still stay on a certain level when going against Esau. But then now what they did, when they captured us, they put one tribe under slavery, and now they exalted Esau. And now Esau is in control and exalted over all the nations. And boom, now we're at where we're at. And of course, we know eventually it got to Judea. Oh, matter of fact, it says tax farmers, publicani or publicans, were used to collect these taxes from the provincials. Rome, in eliminating its own burden for this process, will put the collection of taxes up for auction every few years. The publicani would bid for the right to collect in particular regions and pay the state in advance of this collection. So you had to be, for you to be a publican, you had to be on a considerable level. You had to be able to front the amount for a bid. Just like now, if you want to, in certain if you want to go downtown with a hot dog truck or coffee truck, you got to bid on that spot, and then you can own the spot. Or construction, you got to bid for the job, maybe have a certain percentage up front, and then you can get the contract. But it says, right, the publicani would bid for the right to collect in particular regions and pay the state in advance of this collection. These payments were in effect loans to the state, and Rome was required to pay interest back to the publicani, or the publicans. As an offset, the publicani had the individual responsibility of converting properties and goods collected into coinage, alleviating this hardship for the treasury. In the end, the collectors would keep anything in excess of what they bid plus the interest due from the treasury. So in many cases, there was a lot of interest. And that's why the people considered sinners and publicans, those were like the lowest of the low. because the publicans were taking all the extra and all the little crumbs and all that stuff that adds up, all the interest, rather than paying it back out to the people, they would keep it for themselves. And so they were considered, slime balls in a sense, just like lawyers are considered today. In the end, right. Right. In the end, collectors would keep anything in excess for what they bid, plus the interest due from the treasury, with the risk being that they might not collect as much as they originally bid. Tax farming proved to be an incredibly profitable enterprise and served to increase the treasury as well as line the pockets of the publicani. However, the process was ripe with corruption and scheming. For example, with profits collected, tax farmers could collude with local magistrates or farmers to buy large quantities of grain at low rates and hold it in reserve until times of shortage. Yep, and then in times of shortage where things were dry, then they would sell it out at a higher cost. And they were doing a lot of greasy business. It kind of sound like the mafia in a sense. That's why we know some of them were Israelites. These publicani were money lenders. They're also money lenders or the bankers in the ancient world. Yep, and this is who, once again, the elites have modeled themselves after, the publicans or the bankers of the ancient world, and would lend cash to hard-pressed provincials at the exorbitant rate of 4% per month or more. So, Jake was going off. You already know Jake was going off. And that's why, in the case of Black Wall Street, that's why they had to get rid of them so quickly. Any banks owned by us, they got to hurry up and get rid of them, or take over them, or they'll put a coon up who keep it at a minimal level, so he's not on any kind of playing field with Esau. But that was it on that. They go into a lot of good information. I'm gonna just finish off on this because this is our people are still obsessed with the balling out of control shit, and they're still obsessed with all the bullshit and the trinkets, and all that shit is gonna be done away with. That's just little extra shit. Luke 19:1, and Yahushua entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a certain man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. So amongst publicans, he was the chief. And he sought to see Yahushua, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. So he was a short guy. And he ran before and climbed up in the sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Yahushua came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying, he was gone to be guest with a man that is a sinner. This is the hatred and contempt they have for publicans, but because like I said, there was a lot of corruption involved in what they were doing. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I take anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Yahushua said unto him, this day is salvation came to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. And as they heard these things, he added and spake a parable, because he was nigh to Jerusalem, and because they thought that the kingdom of the Most High should immediately appear. He said, therefore, a certain nobleman went into the far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. And he called his 10 servants and delivered them 10 pounds and said unto them, occupy till I come. Right, then it's going to go into how these servants, they start off with the number of talents, and then they flip those talents for the master when he comes back. Then he's using a story with money being the theme to explain to him what it's really about. That's where the story actually comes from. So, with that being said, just like it said, though, like the Lord said, he said, for the Son of Man has come to seek and to save that which was lost. And who was lost? the house of Israel. Not just Judah, Benjamin, Levi, but all of our people have been lost. At this point, Israel has been lost ever since the Assyrian Empire, ever since they crossed over and came over to the new so-called North America. But with that being said, man, we don't want to be those lost sheep, because we have the scriptures right here. We're at this point, we received the understanding of the scriptures. Brothers, of course, are still learning, and we don't want to continue to be lost. We don't want to be lost with the scriptures. That's what the scriptures are for. Hey, with that being said, man, call Allah Yahweh Bashim Al Shai Bashim Makagadash Shalom.